Last year, plenty of great racing, plenty of great surprises. Number 2 NZ, Rowan Shepherd, took out the Endurance Racing Series. If he can do that again today, he'll take out the overall SsangYong Ute Action Racing Series. But a lot can happen. 2 races, 90 minutes each, to decide the champion. SsangYong Action Racing Series brought to you by BNZ, LDV, Hankook, Elf and BGW Wheels. SsangYong Action Ute Racing Series and Pukekohe Park Raceway. What a great way, round 5, to decide the overall championship. 2 endurance races and a battle of tactics and teams.
Peter, mate, we're at the business end of the championship. We're into endurance mode. You could have done the race by yourself, but you opted for a co-driver. What's that behind that strategy?
I honestly think that we're going to be quicker in the driver change, so this race is going to be 1 in the pit stop. With these things, they're also close, so if you can get a second in the pit stop, it'll take you laps to catch that back up. So if we can get an undercut, we'll be laughing.
And here's how they line up for race 1 of the Enduros. Remember, the drivers can either drive by themselves or decide to team up with another driver. And look at that, number 1, Daniel Connor, the outgoing champion, starting on pole. Alexandra Whitley teaming up with Leanne Tander, coming across from Australia to team up with the Aussie who races here. Kenny Smith also teaming up with Andrew Higgins, along with Dylan Smith and Tessa Field jumping out of the Mazdas. So here we go. It's all on these 2 races. Race 1 of the Enduros. And Mark Pedersen, what a great sight down here at Pukekohe Park Raceway.
Oh, it certainly is, Clinton. We know from last year that these utes will go corner for corner, lap after lap, minute after minute. Matter of fact, we saw a battle last year last 47 minutes, and I doubt this year's going to be any different.
As they sweep out of turns 2 and 3, roll into 4, up along the back straight. The angry buzz of the SsangYong Action Ute Racing Series, that is just spectacular.
It is, Brownie, but we've got a couple of different developments going into this one. Is that we have co-drivers. Okay, so we've got a lot of drivers who are going to do the event by themselves. We have co-drivers and we're mixing it in there. A prime example is Peter Bennett. He's opted to take a co-driver. He's second in the championship. So you're throwing a lot of weight on someone there that's relatively new to the category. So, you know, the new guy, he's going to be mixing in there with guys that have been, you know, battle hardened. They've been racing all year and he won't know where he should be the aggressor or just take it easy. So it's an awful lot to go through your mind in the first 3 or 3 laps when these guys are just jumping all over you. And you actually, in the ute, that's good, potentially good winning the championship.
So the basic rules for the Enduros, 2 90-minute races. So this is the first of the 90-minute races. A pit stop window after 30 minutes for 30 minutes where they can either make the driver change or if they're going to be racing by themselves, they have to get out of the car and run around the car?
Yeah, that's right. And for safety as well, they've got to get out and they've got to run in an anti-clockwise direction. That's just so basically when you're running along the side of the ute, you're looking back down the pit lane, make sure that no one's going to come and have a bit of have a crack and you run you over. That's the only reason they do that. But look, 2 drivers is going to be faster in the pit stop, but potentially could be slower for the first 3 or 4 laps after the race. So it might neutralise itself out.
So that all depends on the consistency of the speed of both drivers, not just the first driver, and especially if one of the other drivers hasn't had the same amount of experience in racing in the SsangYong Action Utes. And one of the other features here at Pukekohe, they're not using the kink or the complex.
Now, look, this is back to the original hardcore Pukekohe track. Look, in my humble opinion, for what it's worth, the best track in all of Australasia. It is fast, there is bumps, there's curbs, there's everything. It's a living, breathing beast, this circuit, Brownie. What I mean by that is we've had a lot of rain. The rain gets under the track, it raises it up, and when you go across the front of the start-finish line into turn 1, there is a bump. It's very pronounced and it throws these things sideways. It's not a criticism of Pukekohe Park, it's part of the characteristics, and that's why I love this place.
Yeah, well, that's that challenge, isn't it? You've got to set it up for the bumps, you've got to set it up for being a power circuit, you've got to set the cars up for the speed, but also to be handled just those tight, nimble corners coming off turn 1. You see them in the previous lap. Some of them were just getting a bit wide, so you've got to be able to handle this part. And then get the cornering right.
You see Murray Brook shoot, you know, it took a set, it ducked, it took another set, ducked. That is Pukekohe Park, and that's what makes this place so fantastic. And it's interesting that the bumps that you feel in the beginning of the race are going to get an awful lot worse towards the end of the race because you've got another minute, another 90 minutes of sunlight beaten down on the black track, everything starts to evaporate, gets hotter, and then the track actually does lift. It's just a fantastic venue.
What a freight train. The SsangYong Action Utes streaming down the back straight at Pukekohe Park Raceway. And it's all about the tyre wear too, isn't it, over 90 minutes?
Yeah, look, it certainly will be. It's the brakes, it's the gearbox, and it's the drafting as well. Now, we've got number 1 and 17. It's Callum Hedge and Daniel Connor. 17 is actually a championship contender. Rowan Shepherd directly behind him. He's definitely championship contender, leading it at the moment. These two utes, they're trying to work together, the yellow one, the yellow and white one. They're bump drafting each other. They're drafting to try to get that break. It's just not happening for it. So Rowan Shepherd is very much a part of this. Appreciate you're only 2 laps in, but he certainly wouldn't want to let too much of a gap get in front of those other 2 guys.
So it's a really great battle out in front at the moment. And of course, watch out for number 2, NZ, the orange ute of Rowan Shepherd. He's been shadowed by number 28. That's Peter Bennett.
It's interesting that 28 ute, that actually has the co-driver in it. So it's the first time ever to these SsangYong utes. And that's what we call
Jordan Baldwin.
Oh yeah, look, I spoke to the young fella during the weekend. He is the most humble individual, and he's very grassroots Kiwi. Him and his family, they do it all hard. Right? Nothing's gifted to him. He's doing it on sheer ability and, you know, friends and family, and that's what I love about. Oh, here we go.
Oh, the first drama, 21's come spinning at what? That's out of turn 1.
Yeah, like just grab first gear and away they go. But look, ute number 28. Let's put this into perspective. This is a young fella, first time in the SsangYong utes. He is in the ute that's battling for the championship, and he is amongst competition that's been racing all year. He's giving no quarter, he's taking no quarter, he's mixing it in there. He understands his job of being a co-driver. He's got to give that ute back to Peter Bennett whenever they do the driver change in a competitive position, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Well, Jordan Baldwin, as you can see there, a bit of rubbing and racing from 55, Christina Raw West. He's had a great season racing in the Toyota 86s as the safety car comes out. Looks like they're going to try and red flag the race.
Now, they won't red flag it, apparently. That's just that's a safety car board, so the race has been neutralised at this point. So everything will slow down, and this will do the utes a world of good, actually, because, you know, they're starting to get hot. They're pushing really hard. Like, this is in sprint race type speed they're going at the moment, and the utes will be saying, "Full, thank God for that," because the brakes get hot, the tyres get hot, everything gets hot. It's not a criticism, it's just the nature of the business that these guys are in with these utes. And they do a fantastic job. Like, they are trying hard, they're hitting every curve, and they just keep bouncing back, asking for more.
Well, that's part and parcel of endurance racing, isn't it? Which is one of the great reasons why you've got it. You've got that combination between the sprint races over the first 4 rounds, and you decide the championship with the endurance decider, and it's Rowan Shepherd having a duck down the inside from the restart. Great move. Bold move.
Yeah, getting very bold, getting very racy as well, isn't it? It's now they've got to try to jostle now. Keep in mind, the black and orange ute.
Look at the curbs down the inside up to turn 4.
Christina Orr, she's sticking her nose in there. She's going to get the place as well.
The MWM Civil Utes side by side, teamwork going on.
This is spectacular, isn't it? Now, Rowan Shepherd, he knows what he has to do. He's just got to pin his ears back. And keep in mind, Brownie, double points for both these races as well. So every position you get, you're doubling your points gain over your competition.
Well, he's been doing double duty, been racing in the Mazda Series as well in the Pro 7 Plus, but he's really focusing on trying to take that number 1 of Daniel Connor in the front there at the moment and exchange it for his 2 NZ. That's Rowan Shepherd in the black and orange ute. He's sick and tired of being runner-up, and this is his best chance, currently leading the series. But of course, as one of the cars goes wide, anything can happen now that it's decided not over 1 endurance race, but 2 90-minute enduros.
That's right. So essentially, you've actually got to survive Enduro 1 to get into Enduro 2. Here we go. Number 65 just regathering his thoughts, gone off a little bit there. But look at this battle here, Brownie. Look, we've 1, 2, probably 10 utes in it. 28 going side to side. You've got to be a bit careful what they do down here, because if you hit the grass of all the rain we've had and the thing gets sideways on you, it's going to take a lot of saving.
Jordan Baldwin out of the 86s into the SsangYong utes, and look at that straight away, a bold move. He was the rookie in the 86s. He won that championship, and he's doing a great job switching straight away out of the 86s, which is similar in some ways because they're a 2-litre, slightly underpowered, overbraked. These are 2.3 litre. They haven't got a huge amount of power, but you do have to drive these vehicles, don't you?
You do, absolutely do. And talk about driving, Rowan Shepherd's now taking the lead, and he'll just want to work with Daniel. He won't want to fight him. He'll want to work together just to try to get a little bit of a gap over the number 17 there of Callum Hedge, and number 28, more importantly, who's a championship contender. But I imagine Daniel Connor trying to press the point with him and try to pass as much as he likes, because he wants number 17 to help him. They're team utes. They battle with each other, they draft each other, they're drafting partners in qualifying. So they'll just want to close that gap.
Close gap as they ride the ripples and almost onto the grass. This is that special left-hander bump kink sort of before you slide and glide up over the hill. An iconic stretch of motor racing track. If you think of a couple of the great corners, you come up over the top of the hill here, down the straight into turn one. How good is that, Mork?
Oh, it's fantastic. You get the flow going out of the hairpin. You line up the hairpin, you get the best execution you can, hard on the throttle. You just keep plugging gears first, second, third into fourth, carry that momentum through all the way, and we talk about the front straight coming over the top of the hill, Brownie. It carries on through turn 1, 2, 3 and 4, which is coming on the back straight here. But what's interesting, if you want to pass someone over the top of the hill, you start the manoeuvre right here. Okay, so what you do is you try to make life as awkward as you can for the ute in front of you coming into the hairpin. You go under them, you try to raffle their natural line going into the hairpin, you back out of it, you get a flyer and you carry that momentum all the way to the start-finish line in the hope that you pull out and make the move going into turn 1. So this is the ultimate game of chess, or even golf for that matter, right, is that you've got to be strategic about how you go about doing it. You're not going to do a desperate lunge at Pukekohe. You've got to calculate, you've got to think, right, where are my strengths, where are my weaknesses, and let's work on those.
Close racing, and it's got to be smart racing. The SsangYong Action Ute Racing Series, it's part 1 of the Enduro to decide who's going to be the champion for this year. Stick around, coming up, the pit window is about to open and the whole race is about to change. Well, they've settled down nicely at the SsangYong Action Ute Racing Series, but now they're getting ready for where the race is going to really change. It's the pit window, and pit lane will be opening after 30 minutes. Remember, they'll have 30 minutes to get in there and either make their driver change or get out and run around the car. At the moment, it's Daniel Connor, number 1, the outgoing champion. He's currently got the lead, and look at that three-way sandwich between Callum Head, 17, down the inside. The orange and black ute, number 2, Rowan Shepherd, who currently leads the series. He's nervous, and his main contender on the outside is the ute 28, being driven by Jordan Baldwin, and that's the ute that he's going to be sharing with Peter Bennett, who's currently 2nd in the championship. So who's going to be first to go down and get into the pits and make the change?
Even if you wanted to come into the pits, Brownie, you wouldn't be able to in this kind of race, and it's too close quarters. You'd have to set yourself up a lot earlier than what you do and make sure you get over to the right-hand side of the track to be able to pull off. But, mate, there we had 3 utes going down the back straight, doing 150 kilometres an hour, and we're talking about 1st and 2nd in the championship, door handle to door handle. How good is that?
It's been one of the great features of the racing this year. It's been all about maintain your speed and give each other racing room. That's been the mantras that you've laid down, Mark Petch has laid down, and you've got to say that the drivers have really taken on board as we see them streaming out of turn 1 at Pukekohe.
Look, we want to see some rubbing. We want to see good, hard, honest racing. We want to see the bump drafting and everything. So long as it's done in a safe manner and there's no retaliation for the old, bump and hit and grind here and there. But, it's the reckless stuff that we jump on board, and we probably went over top a little bit earlier in the championship and probably made the racing a little bit sterile. So we decided to ease back a little bit on the reins and said to everybody, look, go and have some good, hard racing. And this is the product of it right here.
Fast, furious, and fair. And it's going to be fairly interesting as they jostle going into the hairpin. Isn't it great to see the old part of Pukekohe without the kink? Back in the old big back straight.
Yeah, it is, mate. You just come barreling down into the hairpin there. You've got to set yourself up nice and early, to get out of the hairpin, to get a nice clean execution, because this straight, believe it or not, from the hairpin to the front straight is almost as long as the back straight. So, albeit this has a couple of kinks in it, because it's 100% throttle all the way through, it's classified as a straight. And you've got to keep the momentum going. You've got to keep it building and building so you can have a good run through turn 1, 2 and 3.
Christina Raw West really leaning on her car, just letting it flow up over the top of the hill as Rowan Shepherd's been sort of pushed back a bit here.
Yeah, not so much pushed back. He's just in close quarter racing. You've got Murray Brook, Christina Orr just controlling the ute magnificently because it was going sideways on her over that big bump which she spoke about earlier. Behind him is his main antagonist for the champion, but they've got to keep the momentum going because of the different strategies that we have. Now, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 utes, they're all solo drivers. So basically they get out, like you said, they run around the ute. Oh, here we go. There's a bit of an innocent spin. Oh, and in sympathy.
Well, I think he would have got distracted.
Yeah, well, they're both teammates, actually. So there you go.
Oh, it's contagious.
Sorry, yeah, so I was saying the first 5 utes, all solo drivers, okay? It's number 28 that has a co-driver in it, which is the young fella. He's going to get out to Peter Bennett. Now, I reckon that there's going to be a 5 to 10 second gain to the utes that have 2 drivers in it versus the solo effort.
Well, I know that Peter Bennett has been doing a lot of practice along pit lane. They actually came, here's the first one, the blink, and it's Callum Hedge, number 17. They came down to do some practice, couldn't get on the track, so they took the time to go up and down pit lane.
Sorry, Brownie, I'm just going to jump in there. That's absolutely nuts by the young fella, right? You have the yellow line, which is the decarmation for 40 kilometres an hour. He slowed down metres and metres before it. As a driver, you've got to charge that line. You've got to go as fast as you can for as long as you can before you hit the yellow line and get to 40k. Otherwise, you're just giving time away.
So that's part of the learning curve for young Callum Hedge.
So here we go. So, yeah, and then look, this is just clumsy. You know, as soon as that ute stopped, you should have been out there. No point the guy in the white shirt there holding on to you, giving you a high five. You know, if you want to win races, Brownie, you've got to be in and out of these things in the middle amount of time.
It's also just knowing how to unclip your seatbelt and get back into it again as well with the minimum amount of fuss.
That's right, and the calmer you are and the slower you are, the faster it becomes.
So Callum Hedge has made his compulsory pit stop. Where will he join? But of course, it's all going to change as they all start to do it.
Yeah, I actually think he's almost going to join exactly where he left, to be honest, because he's got all that pit lane to go down to 40k's. Everybody else here is at racing speed. Now, does anybody else respond to the challenge of Callum Hedge coming in early? Number 28, Peter Bennett. This is going to be good because this will give us the difference between a solo driver getting out running around the ute versus 2 drivers getting in and out.
So Jordan Baldwin goes right up to that line.
Yeah, see, that's what I was saying about Brownie. See how he cracked how he attacked the line? Exactly what I was saying. Almost exactly where it went in. So it's a whole honest lap.
And here's the blend line too. You've got to stay inside that yellow line as Hedge comes back out in front of the field. And it's Jordan Baldwin coming in to do the changeover to Peter Bennett. So watch this, because this could be very, very important. The first of the 2 double teams.
First part of the equation, the young fella hits the marks. Young Jordan's getting out, jumps out, Peter Bennett straight in. Most important part here is to make sure they get all the belts connected. Got the driver assist, which happens to be the driver Jordan. 1 seat belt in, which is the main lap belt. Both diagonal belts in. Shoulder ones in, first gear engaged, door shut. Out the door they go.
Good stop, quick.
Yeah, 23-second effort, that's fantastic. So, number 1.
Daniel Connor coming in.
And there you go, once again, just attacking that decarmation line that was spoken about.
And look where he comes back out in front of the field. Peter Bennett.
He was so fast in that pit stop that the battling group was not even in the same picture. We saw exactly the same efforts by Callum Hedge, and he come out amongst the leading groups. That's the difference in speed.
And the other MWM Civil Ute, number 82, also coming in as well, alongside Daniel Connor. A little bit of rubbing and racing here. Hedge, Christina Raw West. So a young teenager, Murray Brooks, in there as well, up against a very experienced, one of our top lady drivers. What will Rowan Shepherd do? When will he respond?
You probably just wait and see what the rest of the group does, really. With Daniel Connor back in. It just seems like an eternity, doesn't it?
So the whole race will change over the next 30 minutes, and then it's going to become basically part 3 as a sprint to the finish. 3 races in 1, 90 minutes. That's the beauty of the Enduro.
Well, I think it's just Enduro by name, Brownie, because these guys and girls, they are sprinting for every corner of every lap, aren't they? They're not treating it like an endurance race, they're treating it like a 90-minute sprint race.
I suppose with these utes being identical, one-make racing series, that's exactly the way you've got to go, hard and fast, as they say. Go hard, then go home, and hopefully go home as the champion.
And that Rowan Shepherd, he's living dangerously on the outside there, isn't he? But
onto the grass, no, keeps it off.
And once again, so Daniel Connor's pit stop was slightly faster than Callum Hedge, just based on where he's joined versus the leading group. Oh, mate, look, this is racing at 3 abreast.
3 wide going into turn 1. Whoa, who was that? Which one of the civil utes was that?
Hard to tell, really, because they all look the same, but hopefully it wasn't number 28. If it was, that's Peter Bennett. That's our race leader at this stage. Of course, there's still a lot of pit stops to go, but it was actually. Whoa. So all that hard work, all the benefit and all the time that they made up in that super fast pit stop was lost. And that's part of the problem you have, Brownie, is that when you jump into a ute that's already done, 35, 38 minutes of hard racing, when you jump in, everything's new to you. The tyres are worn out, the brakes are worn out, you hear different things, and that's what makes it hard for a co-driver. And I think that's what we've found, that all the co-drivers have started the race, and then the primary drivers are going to jump in and nurse the things along by that, minute 38 to minute 90, because they have that experience in the utes. They know what it feels like to drive something which has a long brake pedal.
Nice pass there by Murray Brook. And Rowan Shepherd's coming into the pits. The series leader. The big question is, where will he rejoin the race? Stick around, we'll find out. Well, it's been good racing so far with the first of the Enduros, the SsangYong Action Ute Racing Series. Some of the cars coming out of the pits now. You can see there Peter Bennett going past, and here's the series leader, number 2, Rowan Shepherd, coming back into the pack.
He had an absolute shocker of a pit stop there, Brownie. It was 38 seconds versus Murray Brook, who we saw them come in line astern. He's probably 15 seconds up the road. So whatever happened in that pit stop was an absolute disaster for 2NZ, Rowan Shepherd.
Alexandra Whitley sharing the racing with Leanne Tander, number 6. She's done a great job also racing in the Porter Group V8 utes, but basically getting her racing room. What a wonderful couple Whitley and Peter Bennett are. Put all their money into their motor racing, absolutely do it on a shoestring and with a lot of passion. The 2 Aussies in the field, and they've really developed their racing skills over the season too, where to the point that she's mixing it with the guys. And of course, Peter Bennett now is basically challenging for the title. And there he is, Brook. Rest of the field streaming behind her. Look where Rowan Shepherd is, way back down the field as Christina Raw West coming into the pit lane.
Yvonne, she's doing the Enduro by herself as well. She's attacked that line that we spoke about some of the other competitors. Nice and aggressive going in. As a matter of fact, if you're too aggressive there, Brownie, if you get to turn left, you go straight into that 40-kilometre-hour sign, and that's a pretty hard barrier to hit.
Murray Brook, one of the other drivers who's really improved so far this year, is Christina. This must be a long drive, isn't it?
Feels like an eternity, because you're 40 kilometres an hour from that decarnation line which we keep going on about, and it just feels like an eternity, but it's there for the safety of the crew, so it's a good thing to have.
So it must be a chance for the drivers to really take a deep breath, just keep it calm, go through the motions, don't panic, do the change, get back out on track.
Yes, it's like, driving. The slower you are, the faster you are, and it's no different at the pit stops. The more controlled you are, the more you loosen off the top shoulder belts, the more you undo the seat belts to make sure they all flick out the right direction without getting caught down to the side of the seat. It's an integral part of the pit stop, and it's so important to get that part right.
Classic example of the bump draft or the slipstreaming in the drafting here in the SsangYong utes. What do you mean the slower you are, the faster you are?
Well, the slower you are, you hit your braking markers exactly where you need to be. You get the ute right down into the apex, so you get the best execution out of the corner and the earliest throttle application you possibly can. And you do that by being very calculated, and sometimes take a little bit of speed out enables you to hit all those key markers that we've just spoken about and keep the momentum going.
And one guy knows all about that is Kenny Smith. Great to see him in the utes.
Kenny, looked like hot work. Did you enjoy that?
No, I did enjoy it. I could have done an hour and a half, all right, no trouble. I sort of was a bit disappointed to come in.
Yeah. What's it like racing with these young fellas, old fellas, and everything in between? Quite aggressive?
Very good. There was nobody ever give us any crap, and, we didn't give any to anybody, and everyone kept off the doors, so no, I was wrapped. Got one push down the back straight. I thought it was like getting another 1,000 horsepower. Just picked up and went. No, it was great. I'm enjoying it.
Super 70s, Kenny Smith. Great to see him racing in the utes.
Oh, mate, he is a character, a true gentleman, him and his whole family, and he's just a credit and a testament to New Zealand motorsport.
I love the way he's so upfront and honest, there's no crap. I'll give it back if they give me a bump. They said, oh, good, you pushed me down the track more.
And that's that bump draft I'm referring to from one of the most experienced campaigners in New Zealand motorsport.
And he's also spotting a lot of young guys too and helping them come through in the future, isn't he? Like he's putting back into grassroots motor racing. Talking about grassroots, that's not the place to be coming out of the hairpin.
Nah, certainly not. And you'd want to hope that they get enough momentum to keep that ute going off the grass and park it in a position where a safety car won't be required to retrieve it. Here's away again.
Up and over the top of the hill here at Pukekohe Park Raceway, coming up towards the closing part of the pit window. So remember, everyone has to do a compulsory pit stop between 30 and 60 minutes. Then it's that 30-minute drag to the finish, number 11. That's Booth coming in. Back out on the track. Whitley. And of course, she has to make the change over to Leanne Tander.
And the reason why they've extended the pit window for as long as they can with Alexandra is she's probably got a little bit more ute speed than what Leanne has. So they just want to capitalise on that and probably just minimise the amount of time Leanne has in the ute. So, look, I saw these two practice their driver changing. And I have to say, other than the Kane Barry, Jason Lefting combination, these guys are probably the fastest. So I look forward to seeing their pit stop because no doubt it's going to be lightning fast.
Of course, Leanne Tander's done a bit of racing in New Zealand before. Wife of Garth Tander out of the supercar, so great that she's come across the ditch. Now the field really starting to spread out. It's all about your own tactics, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is a stage. You know, we've had the pit stop window, open. We had a lot of utes take advantage of that nice and early. We've got some that are extending it to the very last possible moment to make the change. So essentially what we've got at the moment, we've got two utes there, Murray Brook there, that's first, second and third, fourth on the track. So, we've got two utes out of the same camp, first and second. Interesting, 82, which is the Kane Barry. He is the ute in front, just out of the picture at the moment, 28. He's the championship leader. Murray Brook there in the silver and green ute. He didn't care. He didn't care if anybody's in the championship. He just wants his own glory. He wants to go for his first ever race win. Joel
Herbert coming into the pits, and sister Chelsea's been racing in the B&T V8s as part of the pit crew as he does his quick get up and get round the old ute.
Still, Brownie, you got to get out and you got to run around the ute, and it's probably 5, 6, 7 seconds that you lose, and that's the difference between one driver straight out and straight in and doing it by yourself.
Whitley down the outside of Callum Hedge. Rowan Shepherd, he's been the big loser so far with these pit stops, and that must be a worry for him. Coming into the race with the series lead, and of course, suddenly it's no longer just the old 12-lap sprint race. It just goes on and on and on, and things just keep changing as Alexandra Whitley now comes into the pit lane.
And she's just hugged that yellow line all the way through. She's shortened the track going into pit lane. Oh, mate, absolute maximum stopping power out of the SsangYong ute to get down to the 40 kilometres. Let's follow this through, because no doubt if they carry the practice and the speed of the practice they had for the driver changing, it's going to be something special.
Bennett, Brooke, Connor, back out on track. The battle continues. Now it's about who's got the brakes, the tyres, and the mental capacity to bring it on home.
They all got the brakes and the tyres. I think that last one might be a key factor.
Barry in the lifting combination and the other 82 ute for the MWM Civil Boys. And here is that pit change with Alexandra Whitley getting out, and it's Leanne Tander getting in.
Okay, now let's see when this ute rejoins. We know it was battling for 5th and 6th in the pack. This is the battle for the lead right here, number 82. That's Kane Barry. Now, where does Leanne Tander join? And that's going to tell us how quick that pit stop was. It looked fast, looked speedy, and looked very organised. But the proof is going to be where she rejoins against this leading pack.
Murray Brook just leaning as they come up and over the top of the hill. There's...
Wow, that just shows how fast that pit stop was, Brownie.
Great work by the ladies. Let's get some reaction from Alexandra Whitley.
We actually fumbled on the belts a little bit, but we've been practicing beforehand, and we knew we didn't quite have the pace of the front runners from qualifying, but we could make it up in the pits, so I'm looking forward to seeing what Leanne can do.
So there you go. How many times have you heard that? These races are won and lost in the pits.
especially with the aggressive nature that we've seen so far in the early part of the racing. But you got to feel a little bit for Leanne, because when she looks in the mirror, she sees an awful lot of seasoned campaigners that have been racing in the SsangYong Ute. And I have to say, and I'm happy to go on record, it's probably one of the most competitive categories we have in all of Australasia.
Yes, a very exciting one-make series of straightaway. Barry down the inside. So they came out in a good position, but straight away she's going to get swamped. So stick around. Coming up, it's the run home to the finish in the checkered flag. As you can see here, the field stretching out, coming down the main straight at Pukekohe Park Raceway. And already there's been a change in the lead. Bennett has got up there and grabbed it from Kane Barry. Brooks in there as well. Connor. And poor old Leanne Tander, she's actually being swamped by these other cars. It's a bit like being eaten alive, Alexandra Whitley says. Some of these cars can just come out of nowhere and all of a sudden, bang, is in the middle of a swarm of SsangYongs. A bit like Jason Lefting, he's in the pits.
Jason, mate, you done all the hard work in the first stint. You bought the thing in the top 5 and you guys are currently second.
Well, I don't know about that. I sort of saw 5th once. I started 6th and came in 8th, so I don't know that I did all the hard yards. I sort of thought I'd better get myself out of traffic and hand it back to Kane before I totally destroy it. But it looks like we aced everyone in the pit stop, and good to see we're running at the front. And Kane's now running shotgun for Pete, which is brilliant for his championship.
Running shotgun, they just about took each other out.
Look at that! Synchronised slap, tank slapping around the hairpin.
It's the last thing you want to do as a car owner when you look over the carriage and you see both the utes having a crack at each other.
But I tell you what, it's worked out in favour of Peter Bennett, because he's broken the draft.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to break it for long, though, because these 4 utes punching the air for each other are going to have a lot more speed than what Peter is by himself. And I wouldn't be surprised if he actually maybe backs off or takes a couple of laps, bit of a reprieve.
Poor old Daniel Connell, there's the man that suffered the most damage, though, at number 1.
Yeah, just bits hanging off at every... And that's what I'm saying. Look at these things starting moving around turn 1. It's just fantastic footage.
So if you look at our battle out there in the moment, it's Peter Bennett, Kane Barry, Dan Connor, Murray Brooks, Leanne Tander. Where is Rowan Shepherd? Where is the series leader? Is he destined to be frustrated in part 1 of the Euros to still be stuck with number 2 on the car? Unbelievable.
Yeah, unfortunately, it just comes down to that speed in the pit stop, wasn't it? His pit stop, we've just been told, is 38 seconds versus the ute number 82, which was 18 seconds. So you're giving away 20 honest seconds just in the pit stop, and you can't make that up on the track.
Gee, the bumper hasn't stopped Daniel Connor having a look down the inside. Get out of the way, mate. Return favour, bit of payback.
Return serve.
A little bit of rubbing and racing, that's pretty fair. This is a great corner, isn't it? It can be scary, isn't it?
Someone's got to back out of this, because 3 into 1 is never going to work.
Then you've got to let it slide and glide up over the hill. Nervous. Hang on to it.
Leanne Tanner's a fast learner, isn't she? Oh, man, that's not the ideal place to be rubbing at that part of the track, that's for sure.
3 wide, down the front straight, Pukekohe into turn 1.
I'm just saying how fast a learner Leanne Tander is. Like, she is battling with 3 of the hardest chargers in New Zealand motorsport at the moment. Her career in a SsangYong Ute is probably 12 or 15 laps, absolutely maximum. Oh, and saying, I just put the commentator's curse on her, bugger.
That's what she'll be saying behind the wheel too.
Well, she was doing a good job to that point.
So here they are, streaming down the back straight. Now this is where the endurance part really kicks in. The concentration and the mental side of motor racing.
28 and 82, obviously Team Utes. 28 is in championship contention, and I would say at this point, because of the double points are on offer for this round, and given where Rowan Shepherd, he's probably take the lead of the championship after this one, but there's still a lot of racing to go. The Ute 82 is the interesting one, Kane Barry. Do you just stay there and just block everybody from your teammate for his championship hopeful? And talking about the championship battler right there, 2NZ, mate, he is just getting swamped by everybody, isn't he?
Joel Herbert, Peter Vodanovich, and Rowan Shepherd. He's in a flock, isn't he? He's just going nowhere.
Yeah, and unfortunately, just in that group of the gaggle of utes, where no one really cares if you're battling for the championship, everybody's just going to have a good, hard, honest race. And he's thinking, but guys, my championship's at stake here, give me a break. And they're saying, no, mate, that's your own fault for being where you are. So there is no, it's almost a lose-lose situation. Because of the bad pit stop, you then get in a battle of competitors racing with each other and you just lose more and more time.
Well, sheep love to follow the leader. Unfortunately for Rowan Shepherd, they think differently in the SsangYong utes. They say, stuff you, leader. And look, they're pushing him wide out of turn one.
Big lock-up, bit of a flat spot would have been formed, and essentially what that means is the tyre is no longer round. It has a little bit of flat spot on it, so you go down the straight and the thing starts vibrating. But what's worse, Brownie, is if you hit the brakes hard, it's always going to find that flat spot again and make it worse.
And he also got buried out there on the wide side of turn 4 where the other guys can duck down the inside as they let it flow over the ripples between 2 and 3. And now he's on the outside of a SsangYong freight train going into the hairpin, and he's losing more ground.
Yeah, he is. Look, he had to come across here just to defend his life, establish himself back in the train. Otherwise, he would have lost another 2 or 3 spots.
They're getting willing now. I tell you what, getting towards the end of the race, they're really starting to push. There's Tander. All getting buried alive, eaten alive by the other drivers. And you make one mistake and you can lose 3 or 4 places. That's the amazing thing, isn't it?
Oh, it's in the blink of an eye, isn't it? One of the mirrors just departing the ute, just going sideways there.
And it's not as though you're doing something wrong. You just sort of might one little lapse of concentration before you know it, booyah, rock and roll, you down the pack.
Exactly right. And that's fantastic about SsangYong utes. And that's part of the development, is that you've got to learn to keep the momentum, because if you break or you get a little bit wrong, you're at the back door.
So it's all about that concentration at the moment. Can he fight his way back up through the field?
Yeah, look, he might be able to get in front of this group, but the way they're taking the battle to each other, it's going to be a pretty tall order to ask.
Great sight down the back straight. Pukekohe Park Raceway, the SsangYong Action Utes, the big series finale, part 1 of the Enduros, 2 Enduro races, 90-minute showdown, double points, and number 2 NZ, the Orange Ute of Rowan Shepherd, is in a battle to stay in contention for the series. He's lost the lead because at the moment Peter Bennett has done a real good job teaming up with Jordan Baldwin. Very quick pit stop.
It's just been a good, it's been a good all-round honest approach by Peter and co, isn't it? It wasn't the fastest pit stop, but he certainly wasn't the slowest. He might not be the fastest on the track, but he's certainly not the slowest. But more importantly, when he looks out the front of his ute, he sees nobody. When he looks in the back of the mirror, he probably sees 30 of these angry little utes battling each other.
It's a great way to describe them too, because they can look angry and sound angry at times. I suppose that's the last thing that Rowan needs to be, but he will have to get probably aggressive to try and make a pass as Christina Raw-West gets right up behind him.
The problem about being aggressive and trying to make the pass like you just mentioned, Brownie, is that if you get it wrong, you get filed back another 3 or 4 utes, and it just makes that job even that much harder. Oh, man, look at the damage on 44.
As the leaders come down the back straight, and they have certainly got it right today. Peter Bennett, the likeable Aussie, done a superb job. Actually works with a bunch of diggers with MWM Civil.
Now, when he looks in his rear vision mirror, he no longer sees his team ute there, he sees Murray Brook. And we know Murray Brook is a very hard, honest competitor, but probably just as frustrating when he looks out the front of his ute, he sees 3 or 4 slower utes. So he has to decide, where do I go about passing these things by losing the least amount of time that there is.
Last lap, Peter Bennett. Can he take hold of the SsangYong Action Ute Racing Series right on the last day of the championship and put himself in contention to win the title, to steal it, pinch it away from Rowan Shepherd?
And this battle for second place is going to go down to the last corner as well. Kane Barry, Murray Brook, their championship, they don't have any chance of winning it. They just want to go for glory. They've got slow utes to contend with. So you've got to be the aggressor and the defender at the same time. 28, he's just done everything right all day, isn't he?
He's doing a great job here getting through the slow traffic, to avoid that sort of possible mix-up.
Well, Murray Brook being really defensive down the inside, dragging Kane Barry all the way down to the white line. Oh, this is going to get tight.
So around the hairpin. And the team of Peter Bennett, Jordan Baldwin. Superb effort in the first of the 2 Enduros. And a real change in the championship. The chase is on now with one more race to go. So he started in second spot, but he's put it on the front row right at the right time to take the checkered flag. And Peter Bennett, number 28, along with Jordan Baldwin, what a great win. First of the Enduros in the SsangYong Action Ute Racing Series. And he'll take the lead in the championship. Unbelievable. But great racing right throughout the rest of the field as they stream home now. And there is the gap back to the man who started the series in front. But we'll have to wait and see how that really affects the points and the big final race coming up to decide who will be the champion. So confirming that result, Peter Bennett, Jordan Baldwin, they take the win from Murray Brook, Kane Barry and Jason Leifting rounding out the top 3. Matt Gibson copped a 5-second penalty, and that moves Rowan Shepherd up to 7th place. But where will he finish in the battle of the points after the first of the Enduros and one more 90-minute showdown to come? So it's all about the break, it's all about the nerves, it's all about the pressure. And these guys handled it the best.
We had a bit of a plan going in that the undercut would work, and it turns out it did, but we couldn't have done it. Jordan drew a perfect race today, and couldn't have done it without him.
I was just stoked to bring the car back straight in a good position for Peter to finish it off, and he did a stellar job, you know, to bring it home in P1. I'm totally stoked for Peter and the team. Everyone's worked hard and put in a massive effort, so I'm really happy for them.
It was a real team effort for MWN, and that's what it's all about for us, is just all the teamwork.
After the roll yesterday in practice, we managed to get the car going really good and straight. So first drivers, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of pace, and thanks to all my sponsors, Professional Tyres, Roof Improvements, Kylie for coming over from Australia to support me as well, and all my kids. Yeah, loving it.
We've always been about the championship, you know. Pete's the star of the show for us. I mean, he's driving really well, and I'm here to support him, you know, and if that means helping him along, then, mate, that's got to be done, you know.
Well, he certainly did a great job, because look at that. Peter Bennett has now snatched the lead with one race to go. Stick around, coming up, who will be the champion for the Action Ute Racing Series for 2017-2018. 90 minutes of nerves. Can Rowan Shepherd come back and regain it, or will Peter Bennett take it all the way to the checkered flag? SsangYong Action Racing Series brought to you by BNZ, LDV, Hankook, Elf and BGW Wheels.